The Chicago Bears started off the season 0-2 and currently are on a four-game winning streak. And it begs the question across the NFL and even across the Bears nation is how good are the Chicago Bears really? What is up, guys? Welcome back to So Back Sports, and we're so back with another video. And we're just going to be going over my thoughts on the positives and the negatives of the current Chicago Bears team because they have shown a lot of promise in these last four games with four straight wins, which, to be fair, we haven't done since 2018. Before we get into today's video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot, especially when it comes to creating content like this. So feel free to subscribe, and let's get on with the rest of this video. I'm going to start off with the positives right now and before we go to negatives. But before we go into that, currently the Chicago Bears are currently 4-2 in the NFC North, and which means that they're third place with the Minnesota Vikings being last place, which is a very much a big improvement from what it was last season because we obviously knew that we started off 4-2 last season, but with how the season progressed after that Hail Mary, it turned out completely different, and we were last for real, and we're a top 10 pick in the draft. So yeah, this is fully just on Ben Johnson and the Ben Johnson effect within Chicago. And how has this really helped us as a whole? Because some of the positives include like defense being opportunistic, which and run game be improving, playing hard, especially when we're winning close games, and the culture being way more improved in Chicago. So let's start with the defense because in the defense, when it comes to the defensive trends, the Chicago Bears have been really, really solid in that margin. Because if we take a look at the stats, um, for the defense, the opposition turnover margin per game which ranks number one. Takeaways per game ranks number one. Giveaways a game ranks the point seventh, and opposition interception thrown, which ranks number one. So the Chicago Bears are very opportunistic when it comes to getting turnovers off the ball, and that's especially how we started off the season. We weren't able to, cause turnover on downs when it comes to pressure, but it was either the other opponent would score a touchdown or we get an interception or cause a fumble. It's either one of those two. But we've been improving slowly but surely. And I think, with Al Harris being a really big proponent for the DBs coach, and the defensive coordinator for Dennis Allen being a really solid factor into the Chicago Bears defense being so opportunistic. It's such a breath of fresh air knowing that our defense will is playing really hard and continues to be a really big factor for us winning games. Because if you want to take a look at the Commanders game, a lot of the forced fumbles, the interception, things like that were kept us in that game. And Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams have said multiple times in press conferences how important it is that the defense, continues to, be opportunistic. And even Caleb himself said that, listen, I throw interceptions sometimes, but I just know that our defense is good enough to, get the ball back and we can go from there. So having a really reliable defense, and listen, we haven't even hit our ceiling yet when it comes to the defense. The run game is improving from what it started off with DeAndre Swift. We were all, including me, not exactly super pleased with DeAndre Swift and his ability as well. As you can see with the rushing statistics, we were now ranked 5th, 14th, 7th, 8th, and 12th. So top 15 in these candidates were in these categories, excuse me, which, early on when we started 0-2, we were definitely in the bottom of the league because we just couldn't run for squat, especially against the Raiders game. That was when I guess the turning point happened when DeAndre Swift got that touchdown to give us the lead in that game. So an improved running game, and that also stems from the insertion of Theo Benedict at the left tackle position after benching Braxton Jones, because that alone allowed the run blocking to be more improved, and the chemistry as well. There was no musical chairs being played when it comes to the consistency of the offensive line, and with the consistent offensive line, you can gain chemistry, and dial up plays that are consistent and allow DeAndre Swift to get those pockets, to get those gaps, to hit those A gaps and B gaps and whatnot, to get those big gains as well. And DeAndre Swift, I owe you an apology as well because I was completely out on you in the first 3 games of the season, and but rightfully so because we were not seeing any like value out of you, and you were constantly going into traffic and not getting the gains that we really wanted. But it is all improved. DeAndre Swift is now a really important factor to this offense, and will time will tell consistently if as Ben Johnson's scheme continues to develop and continues to evolve as the games progress, and we actually face bigger competition, it's going to be improved as well. And I really am liking this improvement from the run game. And Eric Bieniemy has to also get some props as well because he has been coaching them hard. And Kyle Manungai, a future for the Chicago Bears potentially being a 7th round pick could be our Bucky Irving of this draft class as well. So we have a lot of hope for this run game. Hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll see it thrive further, but it's still a work in progress, but it is a big positive and it's what has been keeping us in games as well. Playing hard and winning, like I've already mentioned, we have been having close games. We have 2 games back to back, the Raiders and the Commanders game, where we won 25-24. And close games like that and winning games like that, that hasn't been the recipe for the Chicago Bears for quite some time, especially under Matt Eberflus. And with Ben Johnson and this team, we're hungry. We are showing life when it comes to games not going our way. And, that's what good teams do. They find a way to win games when things don't work out. And while it did work out in the beginning of those games, specifically this Commanders game where we were up big and they clawed back and the Commanders ended up taking a couple score lead, we were still there. The team was calm, cool, collected, and very opportunistic, like the defense I mentioned earlier. When it comes to turnovers, and the offense took advantage of that, and the run game as well. Got to give DeAndre Swift as well a lot of credit, and special teams too. When it comes to Jake Moody, shout out to Jake Moody for having himself a good 2 games so far this season. So that specifically winning games, especially in the jaws of defeat, that's really important when it comes to building a culture because it shows your team and gives you the belief in your team that you can pull out a win even if it doesn't seem right or if it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. And that's leading to my next point. My last positive before we go into the negatives is the culture. Ben Johnson and the Ben Johnson effect is absolutely real because you're getting a lot out of this team. And, with the offseason moves that you've made as well, when it comes to key statistics, like yards per play, 5.6, points per play, zero point 0.4, rush per play, like the passing game, there's an equal balance. Third down conversions now at 40% in the league. Red zone scoring 50%. Like things like that as well. And predictive ranking as well, 20th, which at this time of the year we were in the bottom half or bottom of the league at that point because we were still tanking. And you tip your hat off to Ben Johnson and giving this team a lot of belief, and it comes with the wins as well because the last time the Chicago Bears have won 4 games in a row was back in 2018 when we won the division. And if we continue to keep this pace up, who knows what would happen? And the team can only improve. Wins cure all. And that's a common thing. That's a fact. Because the more you win, the more things start to gel, the more things start to, you see the positive of things and you really just want more. And that's what each of those and when the after we win and they show the game balls and all that, like you see all that and you're like, dang, this is what a winning culture looks like in Chicago. And that's something the Chicago Bears have needed for quite some time, especially since 2018, since we had that kind of a winning season, 12-4, excuse me, because it was 16 games back then. But now let's go on to the negatives because that's also what, on the flip side, there's things that the Chicago Bears still need to improve. And that's things that irk me as a fan watching this game. One being QB. Listen, Caleb Williams he's having himself a solid season. I'm not saying like he's a bad quarterback or anything like that. He's having himself a good season. Like he's improved a lot from what we saw last season when it comes to him playing hero ball a ton. We do see that here and there, but I would say the inconsistencies with his deep ball accuracy are still a little bit concerning for the most part. It's not too concerning like last year where he just completely missing every single ball thrown in the direction. We saw countless times this season where he's actually hitting them in stride, especially that flea flicker to Luther Burden was absolutely special against Dallas. The deep balls to Roma Dunze, and he is doing a lot better now. But you do see from time to time where there are the inconsistencies when it comes to the pass game, whether it's the intermediate routes, whether it's the deep ball. There's still, things that he needs to work on, and he himself addresses it a lot of times when it comes to his accuracy. And that will come with time. Ben Johnson is installing this offense, and this is technically, if you want to think about it, Caleb Williams' first season under, like, you could think of this as like his rookie season at this point, and he's doing off to a great start at this. If you ask me, but I think that is what's going to be really crucial when it comes to like looking forward to wins and looking forward to his improvement. Because if you want to give a good chance for your team, you have to hit those balls. You have to hit those deep routes. You have to hit those intermediate routes consistently. And if you don't, that's going to be a big problem because then you have to rely on your run game. And if the run game's not going well, your offense stalls out and things go to shit at that point. So now on to the next part, because it's also part of the offense, penalties. Oh man. Penalties have been the Achilles heel, I'll say, for a lot of the Bears drives. Like, I believe, and this is me personally, and I think a lot of Bears Nation will agree, that the Chicago Bears would be such a great offense, one of the top offenses in the league, like top 10 potentially, if we don't average 100 yards or average about 70 yards, penalty yards a game. The more penalty yards you get, the more drives stall, and the more you end up punting the ball or settling for a field goal. Either one of those two. So that's why I think, obviously you have to also address the fact that this is Ben Johnson. It's a new system. You're trying to implement that, and it's slowly starting to get a little bit better week by week. And there's also ref ball involved at times, but I'm not counting that right now. I'm talking about from the team perspective, because there were a lot of instances where it's like false start penalties, offsides, on the defense, false start, encroachment, all that, like all those kind of penalties that can, either result in 5 yards, 10 yards, and even 15 yards of pass interference. That's going to be really crucial to deciding whether a game is a win or a loss for you. And the Chicago Bears are probably in the top 5 when it comes to penalty yards. And that's something that should be cleaned up very soon. Because if it's not cleaned up, it's going to be a tough time when you're facing actual competition. Because our latter half of games, if I'm going to take a look at the schedule, Cincinnati, after Baltimore, Cincinnati, Giants, Minnesota is a tough when it comes to their defense. We have to get our revenge. Pittsburgh is also a really tough defense, even though they've kind of fallen off this year. Philly is a tough defense. Green Bay is tough defense. Cleveland, very tough defense. Green Bay again. San Francisco, if they get healthy. To Detroit to end the season. You're coming up against a lot of good defenses down the line. So you can't afford to get penalties like that. And the only way the Chicago Bears can improve is if they limit the amount of penalties that they have. And that's what I think is the Achilles heel of the Chicago Bears is the inconsistency when it comes to penalties. If you have clean drives like throughout the games, the amount of points you can actually score and it doesn't kill the drive, this offense would be so elite, genuinely so elite. It's not even a hot take at this point. Like it's frustrating watching this team, and I bet Ben Johnson's as frustrated as the fans watching at home because at this point it's like, come on, guys, like we're 7 weeks in, we have to stop the penalties. Like we're winning games, cool, but we have to stop genuinely. And then obviously the last thing for the negative specifically is the inconsistency in the pass game. While we do have good moments in the pass game, it's not good enough. Ever since the Cowboys game where Caleb had 4 touchdowns in a game, We Caleb has only averaged like one touchdown a game, and his last game against the who do we play? The Saints. He had 0 touchdowns. It's not good enough. We have to have multiple touchdowns, and that goes back to the penalties. It kills drives. Caleb has to see the field a lot better when it comes to the pass game, especially seeing and taking the easy routes as well, taking the easy passes. You don't have to necessarily always get the big play. Take the shallow route. Take the dump off. Do whatever you can to get yardage. Keep the drive alive, and that's what Caleb is trying to improve. And he's been mentioning that in his press conferences a lot. So I completely believe that given some time and given some couple more weeks, I think he'll start to get the hang of it. And I really hope Ben Johnson really installs that a lot more, because that's going to be really crucial going forward, into especially when we go back against our division rivals in the later part. We started the season with 2 divisional rivals, and we're going to end with a bunch of them. So I really think if we clean these inconsistencies up, that's the main negatives about this team. And I think those kind of, you know, hinder what we saw in the positives, because, while there is a culture and there is a thing, the crazy thing is the team is just not meeting its full potential. That's the crazy part. And that's why I think, to answer this question, are the Chicago Bears like good this year? They are fine. They're fine this year. And I really think that they've improved a ton, especially when it comes to winning games that they should win, and being opportunistic. Things like that give you some hope and some positivity, and some, you know, something to really look forward to when watching Chicago Bears football. And this is something that you can kind of like jumpstart off when it's for the latter half of the season, and even into next season as well. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I think the Chicago Bears are in a good spot. We really have to see them face against really good competition. But as far as right now, starting off the season 4-2, like we did last season. But if you want to take about, we started the last season 4-2 and this season 4-2. This is a completely different 4-2. This feels a lot better than last year, because last year there was a lot of things that we did not like in that 4-2 win. Like, we faced the Tennessee Titans, did not like deserve to win that one. Honestly, the Rams one was pretty good. The Jaguars were not a really good team. Um, Trying to think of the other one that we won as well, but I just can't think of it right now. But anyways, we lost a lot of. It wasn't a really convincing 4-2, but this is a convincing 4-2, if anything. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and kind of let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Love to read what you guys have to say. As always, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps a lot, and really helps me create content like this for you guys. If you want to see me cover any topics, let me know down in the comments below. Love to read what you guys have to say. And as always, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one.